mind if I do it? Hey everybody, welcome to another MOTUfigures.com video spotlight. The one I have looked forward to the most since we started doing these.
Yep. Can I name the character?
That's right, Whiplash. No, wait, that's not Whiplash. Yeah, you can name the character.
Trapjaw.
Trapjaw!
Dude, how come we had to wait that long till we got him?
What do you mean, before we got to him?
Yeah.
Or before he came out in the line?
Yeah.
Which one? You just said you had a both.
Before he
came out in the line?
Yeah.
Well, because they were trying to space out the big time characters.
Trapjaw is kind of a must-have from the start.
He is. Yeah, I agree. You know how much I love Trapjaw. But at the same time, I'm glad they kind of space things out.
Yeah.
You know? Let's talk a little bit about the Trapjaw character before you move on to the figure and stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, the Trapjaw character, you know, he's an original vintage character.
Right.
The character is actually based on a proposed character from the Mattel Big Jim line called Ironjaw, who I don't believe he ever made it out, but there was a pictured in a catalog, and people have made customs of it over the years and things like that. But it had an iron jaw and like a mechanical arm thing. Yeah. But it was obviously you don't know this. Why are you saying you had it?
I believe you.
Oh, I'm not fibbing. So they based the Trapjaw character on that unused design from Big Jim. And he was produced as part of the vintage line. Now in the vintage line, he was awesome because he came with so much stuff and had so much going on. You know, even by today's standards, that vintage Trapjaw figure is really cool. It's got the opening jaw, it's got the switch out hand with 3 attachments, it had the green belt, it had a different arm than anybody else in the line. He was just so cool.
Yeah. And though it had a lot of accessories, this Trapjaw that we have now has a lot more.
Well, not a lot more. Not really.
Oh yeah, only about 2 more.
Yeah, he only has 2 more pieces. Yeah, for the most part, he's just a straight translation of that vintage figure. But there were a lot of things that made that vintage figure so cool because it had just so much going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a lot of the figures where all it had was like a smash fist action or something like that. He had the interchangeable weapons in the jaw and the hole in his head so you could put a zip line through and all these cool things. Plus, his mini comic was really awesome because he was he was like this intergalactic criminal type guy that's being hunted, and then he gets brought in and he has the power of Grayskull right off the bat, and it was just such an awesome character.
Yeah.
I loved him as a kid.
I hope we get like a mini comic one of
Oh, I'd love to get like a green mini comic Trapjaw.
Yeah.
That'd be really awesome. That'd have been great for those DC versus MOTU packs.
Yeah, but I don't know who they would put him with.
I would put him with Cyborg if I was going to put him with anybody.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a good pairing. But then again, they were doing like hero, villain. So maybe Cyborg, Superman.
Well, not with the Merman one.
Not with the Merman one, you're right. But most of the other packs were hero, villain.
Right.
So then he went through we'll getting back on track here to Trapjaw's evolution. So then he was on the Filmation cartoon, and he was just kind of a Skeletor lackey type guy, but he was still super cool because he had all those attachments. He had the energy bow and all these different cool things.
Yeah.
So
I didn't make the energy bow eventually with something else.
Spy Monkey made energy bow type thing. So he was such my favorite character when I was a kid. Anytime he was on the cartoon, I was freaking out. That figure was just the tops. And then we moved on to 2000X, and his redesign is probably my favorite of the 2000X redesigns. Even though it's Trapjaw, so of course it's probably going to be my favorite, but I thought it was a pretty solid redesign. It was pretty faithful to his original look, but kind of upgrading the sort of zombie-ish look to his face and more cyborgy type elements to his legs. Kind of remind me of Mean Machine from Judge Dredd, who you don't know who I'm talking about. But he was really cool redesign, so I was really happy with that. And now we're here on the Classics figure.
Yeah.
And this is, without a doubt, the best Trapjaw figure of all. It's so amazingly well done. And like you were saying, this was, well, you said it was kind of midway through the line, but even by today, and all these figures, you okay with your breathing there, bud?
Yeah.
Okay, even by today's, looking back at the entire line, he's still the tops in my book. I think he's just an amazing figure. Amazingly well done. What are you thinking about him?
Yeah, he's a really neat figure. I know he's one of my top 5. I just can't say he's my favorite.
That's totally okay, as long as you do realize the greatness of this Trapjaw figure, right?
Yeah, he'd probably be angry at me if he wasn't in my top 5.
I'm not going to be angry at you.
If he wasn't in my top 5.
Actually, I will be angry at you. Okay, so let's break him down. Let's talk about what we've got going on here. We've got these legs that are very faithful to the vintage figure, and they've been used a few times since this figure. We've seen them on Optic, and we've seen them on Roboto, and You know, it's a standard leg sculpt, but it looks really solid with trap jaw. They've added these little blue highlights for rivets, and he's got the bright green on the leg pads, and then his upper legs are blue, and then you've got the standard loincloth area, and his green belt over that, which the green belt is, you know, I've never tried to take this off.
Don't.
It's not removable. I don't know if it's removable or not. I don't think it is. Doesn't look like it is. I've never tried to take it off.
Okay, and I have a question about the. Well, I'll ask this when we get to the bio.
Okay, yeah, when we get to the bio, don't forget. And then he's got the standard torso, but it's been changed somewhat. And I actually, you know, when I couldn't wait for Trapjaw, so I actually bought a prototype of Trapjaw beforehand.
Well,
Kronis. And I was really intrigued by this when I got it, because I was like, okay, well, this arm definitely pops off, and then this piece comes off, and that's how you put on the gun arm, right? But there's another thing that I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. The other arm does the same thing.
Not with the toy, though. Right?
Yes, it does.
It does?
It does. Both arms are removable.
So you... No, that would look kind of weird if you put his left arm on.
You could totally do that. And this little section here is kind of glued in, this piece, but the other one comes off. But you could totally put gun arms on both arms.
Oh, that'd be cool if you bought like an extra Trapjaw to make him have like
double up? Yeah, 2 gun arms. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that comes off. But that arm does come off. I don't like to take my arms off of my figures because I'm afraid they loosen their joints over time. But I'd taken that one off before, and I have taken one of these off before, but I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Maybe I should, just to show them that it does it. See? Okay, I did it.
A little harder than the prototype.
I didn't want to do that. Well, it's because I never changed this out, I don't think. On this one. I think I did it on the Cronus, and now I can't get it back on. There it goes. Okay, so both of his arms come out. And this was a really good solution to what, you know, to making a Cronus figure, instead of having to do a separate release, having these arms be removable.
Like Keldor and Skeletor?
Yeah. Exactly, having 2 separate releases. There were really no separate...
You could have just did 2 heads.
You could have for Keldor, but he does have some outfit differences, too.
You're right. Like
they did that...
Bones and stuff.
Yeah, in the 2000X line for Keldor, they did it just as a separate, as a switch-out head.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some elements, like his feet were different and things like that didn't make sense. But we're talking about Trapjaw anyway. Yeah. And then we've got, let's see, the arm, and it has a switch-out, and this pulls out and has a little notched area that makes it so it actually, like, it's pretty solid in there when you switch them out. So they switch out with the 3 attachments, and we'll kind of talk about his accessories now since we're talking about the switch out attachments. He's got the standard 3 from the vintage line, which is the hook. Except now this time the hook has the... Whoa. Can you get that? There it is. Now the hook has the belt loop. Hey, Keats. Keats is back, by the way. It now has actually a belt loop instead of just being the hook like the vintage figure was.
Did the rest have loops, but not the hook?
The hook didn't have a loop.
But
in the vintage line. Everything else did, but the hook did not have it. It just was hooked on like that, with the actual hook thing.
Yeah.
Switching on that. So then they all store on his belt, and as I explained in that other video, the Adora video, I'm a big fan of anything that can carry its stuff, all of its stuff on its person, and that was a big thing about the vintage Trapjaw, that he could carry all of his attachments at once, with 1 in his arm and then 2 hanging from his belt.
Right.
He
The
can do that
claw
again.
would definitely have to be in his arm.
No, it can hang from the hook, like I said. You just hang the hook part on like that.
I think that looks kind of
It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty sweet. Now we'll move up to the head. The head, too, is removable. It's got that same little circle thing on the top.
Very breakable, though.
Yeah, that's a good thing you brought that up. When we redid the Trapjaw video, when we did the Trapjaw commercial...
My dad did the zip-like thing
I did
for
the zip
me,
line.
and now there's like a little...
But I told you I'd switch it out. I have an extra head.
Dad, you actually display yours. I display... And it's hardly noticeable.
Yeah, it's hardly noticeable. We should explain what we're talking about here. When we redid the Trapjaw commercial, which you can find on our YouTube channel, I used some string and put him through and sent him down on the zip line, just because in the commercial of the vintage Trapjaw, he goes down on the zip line on his head thing. When we did that, this is such a soft plastic, it tore right through that.
Yeah.
So that one take that is in that commercial redo that we did is the only take we could get. Because when it went down, it tore through this, because it's such soft plastic. The friction of the string and him going down just went right through it.
You know, it's lucky we never had to redo that.
It's good that we didn't have to redo that part, because we only had one shot at it. I do have an extra Trapjaw head, though, that I can hook you up with if you need it. But it's hard, like you said, it's hardly noticeable. It's sliced clean through. But it's something to keep aware of. Don't be using this like you did on the vintage line. It can't handle it.
Tell your kids that they have Trapjaw and they know it has a zip line.
Don't use the zip line. Yeah. Blaze knows. Warn your kids, okay? Do it for the kids.
I learned.
Yeah, you learned it the hard way. So he's got the open and closed jaw just like on the vintage figure. But this time around, they've actually sculpted inside what is left of his mouth.
And
he's got this like tongue gruesome thing coming out.
And you have to twist his hips to get it took out in the vintage figure.
Not really, no. You can actually just move it with your finger.
Yeah.
That you're thinking about roboto, where you have to kind of twist it and make it move.
Yeah.
And then this bottom jaw comes off, too, if you really want to see. You didn't know that? Yeah. If you really want to see how gruesome he is under there, it pops off. Okay, let's talk about the extra pieces you get with Trapjaw. He also comes with a Kronis head and arm to switch out.
No, I like the Kronis head a lot.
He looks really cool. So that way you can get the character of Kronis, which was introduced in the 2000X line, who is in the 2000X continuity and in MOTU Classic continuity, who Trapjaw was before he became Trapjaw, when he was still had his beautiful blue looks and his wondrous muscly arms.
That's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, so you just switch out the arm, you switch out the head, and you've got a whole other character here. And this was pretty cool since at this point in the line. What's up, buddy? Something wrong? What's wrong? Scared? Did you want to go upstairs? You can go upstairs if you want.
I have a question about this figure. Doesn't Cronus not have that black thing?
No, he has it. It's not as noticeable, but he does have it. Yeah. That was one of the people that kept folks kept debating back and forth whether he should have it or not, but it is visible that he has a black thing on that arm. You getting out?
Well, can you at least come over and say good journey?
You can come say good journey and show him your shirt if you want, since you wanted to show off your shirt today. You just got out of the bath. Come here. All right, since they missed you, go ahead and say good journey.
Good journey.
Check out my turtle shirt. All right, you get my hug? My hug. Yeah. All right, we'll see you guys in the bed. You and Mom, I mean, not you guys. We're still talking to you guys. So, I'm grabbing the wrong figure. Okay, so Kronis is pretty sweet, and like I said, it's a whole separate character, and this was kind of still early in the line, so we were getting a lot of stuff with the figure still. And if you think about how much he comes with, he's comparable to Man-at-Arms. And then he comes with the belt piece on there.
2010 is when they stopped doing so many accessories.
They started pulling back, it seemed like, as the year went on, accessories became 2 per figure, almost. Every once in a while you get a little more. But with Trapjaw, you got the new belt piece, which is not removable, but it's still kind of considered that. And then he's got, you know, the 3 attachments for the arm, and he's got the Cronus arm and the Cronus head. He was actually supposed to come with, if I remember this right, he was supposed to come with this blue-tinted Man-at-Arms blaster and this blue-tinted sword, like Man-at-Arms, but they couldn't cost them out, so they were included in a weapons pack later on. But as far as I'm remembering, these were intended for your Cronus figure, to kind of plug into his belt and have him kind of hold this guy, so Cronus would have some weapons. What's up, buddy?
I don't think he can get in. I heard him trying to open the door.
You would go open the door for him?
Yeah.
Alright.
Give them your thoughts on Trapjaw.
Oh, so I love Trapjaw, as you all know. Hey, this would be a good time to show you guys my Trapjaw leg tattoo. So I'm going to pause this for just a second, and then you're going to look at the tattoo, and then we'll be right back. So just wait a second. You can check out my Trapjaw leg tattoo, because I love Trapjaw. Here it is. So there it was. There's my Trapjaw leg tattoo. Pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm a big, huge fan of Trapjaw. I probably should have said that earlier on about like how far the extent of my Trapjaw love is. If there's something Trapjaw on it, I will buy it. But this figure is tops. It's really insanely cool. It's like I said, that plush is really like the highlight of my Trapjaw stuff now. But at the same time, this is an amazing figure, the best Trapjaw figure. I couldn't ask for anything better than this. As a huge Trapjaw fan, it's amazing.
You got about 3 or 4, so you could have a Cronus, a Trapjaw on your
wrist,
and then the ones out here.
I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5. I have 2 packaged ones. I have one that says the original and one that has the... I don't even collect these things packaged, but I did do Trapjaw. I got both versions, the original release and then the re-release. And then I have one as Cronus, one as Trapjaw, an extra as Trapjaw to keep in the Trapjaw case, and the prototype, so that's 5.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, I think 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of Trapjaws. Let's do the bio. Real name, Kronis. That's exactly from the 2000X comic and the cartoon and things like that.
I'm fine with that, though.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Cronus character. I think that the Trapjaw Icons of Evil comic was cool.
Oh, I needed to say my thing before we do the bio.
Yeah?
Do they say how Cronus becomes Trapjaw? Because I do not know that story. Did they mention that in the bio?
I told you that story. It's in the comics. Well, we'll hear. And I'll tell you about my thoughts on Cronus and Trapjaw after we finish this. An insane criminal from the dimension of Infinita, Cronus was one of several evil warriors freed from an intergalactic prison by Keldor to bolster his ranks during the start of the Great Unrest. After serving Keldor for years, Cronus grew ambitious and raised an army of his own to challenge his master. Now a powerful overlord of evil, Skeletor defeated Cronus, breaking his jaw and arm and leaving him for dead. Found and rebuilt by Triclops, Cronus was transformed by him into Trapjaw, a man armed with combat weapons and an iron jaw. Okay, so the first part is kind of talking about the other dimension thing from like the mini-comic. And that Trapjaw was from another dimension, so they're kind of tying that in here, but saying he's from Infinita, which we're getting kind of crazy with the Infinita stuff, it seems like.
Wait, what's Infinita?
Infinita...
Is Trollland? Or,
No, Infinita is... it's from the Filmation Bible and stuff like that. That's where the Skeletor was supposedly originally from, and all that stuff. So he's one of several warriors freed from an intergalactic prison by Keldor. That's fine. And then the rest of it is just straight out of the Trapjaw Icons of Evil comic, where Keldor gets ambitious and he raises an army. He goes to try and fight Skeletor, and then he gets up to fight Skeletor, and Skeletor just kind of mops the floor with him. He blows his jaw off and his arm off, and then Triclops rebuilds him.
I don't like the part where Triclops rebuilt him. I do not like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, what else are you going to do, though? If you're going to have him blown apart by Skeletor, who's going to fix him?
Like his ghost or something?
No, he wasn't dead.
Oh, I thought he is.
No, he didn't die. He didn't die. He just had his jaw blown off and his arm blown off. So it's kind of like RoboCop, where he didn't fully die and they pulled him back together. You know. You haven't seen RoboCop. Yeah, there's a reason why you haven't seen RoboCop. So, RoboCop's not good for kids. That's it. That's Trapjaw. That's Kronis. That's all that stuff. And like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the Kronis character. I understand that they were trying to explain where everything came from. But I kind of like Trapjaw like from the mini-comic, where he's just from another dimension, and now he's kind of with Skeletor, but he still has some ambition and things like that. But that's fine. I'm cool with Kronis, too.
You know, in one of the episodes, it was like that. Like, it was just him and Beastman together.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where Trapjaw's kind of off doing his own thing, it seems like. Okay, so that wraps it up. Since this is my favorite figure, I thought we would do a little giveaway thing here on this one, too. In case you don't have it yet, this is the James Etox Unofficial Cartoon Guide to He-Man and the Masters Universe. I don't believe that this is still available. I think James is going to go back to print on this, but right now it's unavailable, I want to say. So, since this is Trapjaw, and since I love Trapjaw and I want to do something special with Trapjaw, we're going to give this away to a YouTube subscriber once we hit 400 subscribers. I think we're at like 170 or something like that. So once we hit enough subscribers, I'm just going to pick one at random, and they get the book. And that's that. So kind of help spread the word on our YouTube channel and things like that. And if you haven't subscribed and you watch these videos, go ahead and subscribe, just because we like subscribers. And that'll wrap this one up. And we'll move on to some Ultimate Battlegrounds and maybe a Battle Cat Spotlight, you think? So we'll sign off on this one, right?
Yep.
Good journey. We'll see you guys next time.